It's Thursday, May 23rd. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. The third season of the web series, Mrs. Downstairs, is out, so it's a great excuse to talk to some of the amazingly talented folks involved. And we've got them here in studio and on the line. If you've got questions or want to chat, the lines are open. And just to set the table for things, for this conversation for the next, 55 minutes or so, here's the trailer.
You live next door?
I live downstairs.
What?
Hello? Anybody home? What is wrong with you? Look at you there. Oh, my God, John.
I'm going to start my own ride-sharing business.
Elon, how did it go?
All right, in the studio, we've got Mary Walsh, who really needs no introduction, but I'll just say actor, writer, producer, director, mental health advocate, among everything else. Renee Hackett is here in studio, actor, writer, producer. On the line, we've got Dave Sullivan, show creator, actor, writer as well. How y'all doing?
Excellent. If it's John she wants, it's John's she wants. Is that the way it goes, Dave?
John's is John she wants, yeah.
Oh, yeah, John's is John she wants. Yeah.
John she wants, yeah.
That was
John's.
So season one, right? You got a guy, John, played by Dave, who's down on his luck, loses a girlfriend and a job, moves to a new spot, meets this Mrs. Downstairs, unlikely friendship. Fast forward to season 3. Here's the synopsis I was sent. John starts to rebuild his life, and things begin to get very difficult for the Mrs. Downstairs. Her circumstances change radically. At first, John is delighted with the change, but then finds he severely misses her constant diatribes and daily tirades. He hatches a plan to break her out of the Holy Redeemer home for the aged and the infirm. So this is where we are. There's furries and so folks, all the words that I'm about to say, do not maybe Google them, but it's, there's an onanistic hut reference. There's rides on Lukey's boat. There's a lot of, Mary, you had me at onanistic hut.
I know. Yeah. I know. Everybody needs an onanistic hut. All young fellas need an onanistic hut, I guess, because you can't have them at it with those socks in the room. But anyway,
We're off and running here today.
Well, he brought up onanistic hut. It wasn't me.
I too. Because I was watching season 3, and I was just
you could have brought up the Newfoundland ads, the shag-off ads.
That's for later in the show.
But oh no, you had to hit on onanistic hut.
If there was any chance of that flying by into the radio ether, you've murdered that. Okay, so this is the feeling you get from the Mrs. Downstairs. Dave, rewind us to how this thing was started, if you could.
How this started?
Yeah, because I remember seeing a post, right, on Facebook of the Mrs. Downstairs. We're talking years ago now.
Sorry, do you mean the hut?
No, not the hut. The whole series. We've moved beyond the hut. The hut is.
Well, you just go to Canadian Tire, but I know, yeah. So and onanism, just Google it.
Don't.
So, wow, we're never going to be on this again, are we?
No.
So it started at the sort of tippy toe of the pandemic, right at the kind of cusp of it. I had been offered a job in a different province, and I had sort of all but accepted it. I was just like, let me just check over the contract and, let me see if it's okay. And just give me the weekend to sign it, and I'll get back to you. And I just gotten through a relationship and all that stuff. And anyway, the weekend came, and the entire world wound up shutting down. And at the end of the weekend, I was like, well, I can't really go anywhere, can I? And I had already given my notice to move out of the apartment. I had a house picked out in Nova Scotia. I was like ready to roll. And so I had to find a place, like real quick. And so I found a place in, in Portugal Cove. Right overlooking the ocean. It was beautiful. It's everything. I could be Hemingway for a year if I wanted to be, and just my own like an onanistic hut. And so I just thought, this is great. And I said yes, and I didn't even really pay attention to it. I said, give it to me. The rental market's nuts. I'll take it. And so I rented this house, and then the day after I moved in, I went down over the stairs, and lo and behold, there was a Mrs. living in the basement. And she was amazing. She was so funny and hilarious. She's passed now. Her name is Elsie Higgins, and what a sweetheart she was. Anyway, we sort of carried out this lovely friendship for about a year. For a long time after that, but over the next year or so in the pandemic, we really sort of bonded, and she would see the most hilarious things, and I would write down our sort of little conversations and post them on Facebook. And then one day, Mary Walsh piped up and said,
Yeah,
Mary?
Dave, I was born to play the missus, and you can play you, and then we got together, and then we reached out to Ruth Lawrence, who was working with Fibe, and and then we just went ahead and did it. We sent them Dave's Facebook things first because they were hilarious, and Dave wasn't. It sounds like Dave really wanted to be Hemingway all by himself, and she really wanted to be friends with him, and so he'd get up in the morning to go to the gym at 5 a.m. She'd be down there smoking. You're up early? Where are you off to? Oh, the gym. What do you do down the gym? What are you on the treadmill, are you? No, I lift weight. Weights, they're heavy. Yeah.
I read because I've got Dave on Facebook, like a bunch of other people do, and I was reading these live time, right? And they were really entertaining.
Yes.
And then to go from this entertaining bit through your day, especially at the time and place we were in, and then to see it, oh wait, this is turning into a thing. It was fascinating. It was just I don't know, it's very exciting. How do so I mean, you talk to Ruth, you're talking together, but what gets the balls rolling for something like this other than just those conversations? How do you greenlight this type of a project?
Well, again, we talked to Ruth, and then Ruth put us in touch with Paul Gardner at Fibe, and we sent him the material. And just as you were taken with Dave's pieces, they were also taken, with it because it was really funny stuff. And and so sometimes you just get things. Sometimes you can work for 10 years to get things greenlit, and sometimes things just happen. Like Renee's podcast, Can You Hack It? And you said, let's do it just this minute.
We're going to do a show. We've got a show planning for later this summer.
So it got greenlit really simply. And I thought, oh, no good will come of this. It's going too easily. And then when we got on set, I love working with Dave, and he's just brilliant. And we had a fabulous crew. And I thought, oh, this is going to go very wrong. This is not going to be good at all because it's just too goddamn easy.
Same here. I got that too. I thought, this is garbage.
Yeah.
This is going to be garbage. Yep.
And so, who knows what the final word? But we really have enjoyed ourselves, and I love writing with Dave. I love Dave's ideas, and so it's. It's been really, really good. And Renee is my daughter, and I have such a great time with her.
Trina,
She's
right?
so horrible.
Yeah, they're terrible.
And, I was watching both of you torture Dave, or John, I should
so
say.
much fun.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, so you enjoy this, right? It's a fun thing to torture poor Dave or John.
It's so much joy.
Yeah.
I looked at Dave last year when we shot season 3, and I'm like, it's really hard to take yourself seriously. It's just pure joy. It's fabulous. We have such a laugh. It's great.
So how did you get involved with this?
Well, I saw a call for it, I guess through Actor NL, and I went to audition, and Ruth, who's a dear friend and producing partner of mine as well, we just put an audition on tape. She was a reader for me, and I said, oh, there's snow tires out in the backyard. Let's go shoot an audition for Trina next to the snow tires in the bags. Yeah, and then I got it, and I was just absolutely blown away. It's been the gift of a lifetime, really, this role.
Well, there's, Sherry White, Adriana, Adriana Maggs, say me, Kathy Jones. We can all do that hard, that hard young one. I can't do the hard young one anymore. I can do the hard old one. But it was hard to find people who had that sense, because a lot of people who grow up hard, don't get into acting, and a lot of the middle class don't notice what other people are saying, in the blocks. And when I saw Renee's audition, I went, "Oh, great!"
There it is.
Because she'd been away all this time, and I thought, like, everybody's trying to be, just nicer, more like TV and not like life, and everybody's just putting that on in the audition, and Renee went right for yeah.
Actually, the outfit that I wore for that audition, I wore in season 1.
Oh, good.
And I think season 2.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows Trina. I'm like, I knew Trina.
Yeah.
She's in the bones.
Yeah.
That's so good. And so, Mary, you think was it easier then to play that type of a character growing up with your generation in Newfoundland than now?
I don't know. I don't know. In the 50s, when I was born, back in the last millennium before the earth hardened, there wasn't a lot of access to TV. We used to watch some old fella's TV through the window, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so bit
No
by
surround
bit,
sound for that.
No, bit by bit, I suppose we're being worn away at the edges, which is, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything, but that people are more like, it's more likely that a young actress in St. John's now would have more of an LA kind of twang than a Kelligrews, go, I think. And I'm still really interested to, like Sean Majumdar, his accent is so fabulous. And like there's the Toms, this beautiful Chinese young women who grew up down on Gower Street. Oh my God, he just talked just like they came up Gower Street, and they were just the most exquisite faces and long glossy hair, and then they just sounded like people right off Gower Street. Anyway, I'm still really interested in that, I guess, and maybe the last of a dying breed or something. But I know Nick Sexton's show is coming on Friday night. How to Be Deadly.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's still a few.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's around. And so Dave, as everything kind of came together for this, going from Facebook post to like, wait, I'm writing and acting in a TV show. What was that realization like when it hit you? That like one of the first days on set or whatever.
Oh, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I hadn't done anything in a long time. I'd pretty much given up acting. And then the first thing I do in like 10 years is with Mary Walsh. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is a good idea. And I remember I was in my room on set, because I slept on set for the first 2 seasons.
We had no money.
Yeah, I know. It was fine. So I was in my room in the house that we shoot it. And I was listening to Headspace. The app. I put it on friggin' repeat. There was smoke coming out of my phone because I was just too freaked out to step outside. I was like, can't do it. Mary Walsh out there, I can't do it. And eventually, I pulled up my drawers and put my head on straight and walked out and said my lines. I didn't bump into anything or crash the car. And I thought, well, maybe I can, survive. And so each season I find myself getting a little bit better at what I'm at. Yeah. And I'm learning a little bit more, which is great.
And the Mrs. Downstairs just won a Web Award, right?
Of Dave this season.
Why?
Because he was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good in.
It's great.
He's just, so I was just finding myself just getting a little. Oh, it's really good. That's good. Good. He's really just acting me right off the screen there.
What's great about Mary is she's so supportive.
I'm not asking you not to be good, Dave.
If you have an accident before season 4, we know who to look towards. Got it. Just be great, but not too great, Dave.
Yeah.
You guys, was it the Stockholm City Film Festival you just won an award for?
Yes, we won Best Web Series, yeah.
So good.
Stockholm, my husband calls it the Nobel Prize for Skits Award.
That's really good.
That's good.
What does that type of recognition do for a show like this?
I don't know. Renee did What Odds, and they got a number of awards. Renee got Best Actress in Miami, was it?
I got nominated, yeah, and my co-star, Dana Podicum, got nominated for a CSA for supporting. We won Best Web Series in Berlin, and I mean, they're great for your confidence.
I mean, it feels nice to be talked about, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And Mary said to me one time, and this resonated with me. You said the word resonate to me when I talked about What Odds, and it's the first time I'd done anything like that, and I was so inspired by what they'd done with Mrs. Downstairs. They're different shows, but making a show in Newfoundland, and it feels great when what you've put out there resonates with people, and the awards definitely do that for you. But it's great; it gets more viewership, I would imagine, and it's looks great on a resume.
yeah, of course, right? But it's all of that. It just to create more excitement around it, to get more eyeballs on it, to have people talking about it, and just, I guess, Mary, like we were talking before the show, like this is connecting with people.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, that it connected so... that something would be so easy. I'm used to cracking my teeth trying to get things. You know what I mean? And that this would flow so easily. First, from the pen of Dave, from a relationship that he's building with this, and then the funny, and then for it all to come together with this great crew, like we have. Mr. Mahar is our cinematographer, and he is brilliant. And we have Lynn Andrews as the production manager. All the people in the crew are so good. I mean, they're well beyond what we can pay them, and still, that's what I love about working here too, is that if people have a chance, they'll work with you, even though they're making big money on, say, Critch or on a national network series. If they got a spare minute, they'll grab the boom and come in and work and be
question,
it's a great
That's
place.
really cool.
Yeah, we should get a Nobel Prize for community.
Seriously,
Yeah.
Put in for that.
Yeah.
If we look at season 3 for the cameos too, and I'm thinking specifically the best tourism commercial I've ever seen. So you got like Rick Mercer, Alan Doyle, the Ennis sisters, Brad Gushu, Danny Williams, all in this or tourism commercial. Dave, talk to me a bit without, you don't have to give the whole thing away, but just talk to me just about the thought process around some of that for that piece for the third episode of season 3.
The shag arm out of it. Yeah, I mean, like I spent a lot. By the way, I just want to reiterate that agency that's in that is in no way a depiction of the agency that I worked for. The agency that I worked for, Target, were very good and they make incredible tourism ads. That's just to get me out of trouble.
Good.
But they were fantastic, and they do great work for the province. And
They do.
It's good.
They do.
But there was at one point, like you spend 10 years of your life or 8 years of your life trying to develop tourism commercials. You just come up with some crazy stuff, right? And that was a sort of inspired by an idea that I think we actually pitched, where it was like, we just don't want tourists here. After a while, you go a bit nuts, right? But there's only so many words for iceberg.
Like the whale show doesn't start promptly at 2, and like other types of questions that you get, like at Cape Spear.
Yeah. But so, I mean, that sort of emanated from that. And like, I think, like, as somebody who used to work in that field, like somebody actually wrote an article trying to ban me to the Belle Island Ferry because they didn't like the ad. They were like, that copywriter should be banned on the Belle Island Ferry for 6 days. And I thought to myself, like, what a wild province we live in.
Oh, that's
where
so
like
good.
somebody would take the time to write an article in our provincial newspaper banishing the copywriter of a tourism ad to a boat.
Oh, that's
because
great.
they didn't like the ad. And I said, well, what do you want, right? Because people would often say, like, they're too pretty, it's too colorful, the weather's not like that. Would you want a wailing baby in an old abandoned house? Like, what would you like?
Hey, if you put that up, I'm going there.
Yeah, exactly, right? We're trying to get people to come here, pal.
Lean in on the Technicolor.
And you guys did a great job, for sure.
Of course. Well, everyone would talk about those, right?
Like Newfoundlanders often think, wow, I would like to live there too. Maybe I could visit there.
For 3 days. Remember?
That's Nick again. Nick
Sexton did that, right?
That's
One
really
day,
funny.
one day,
One
one
day a
effing
year.
day. Yeah. But
Some of those parodies
but
are
it
great.
really worked. They really worked, and they were brilliant. And it really made you. I don't know. I just it's so different now about Newfoundland, and part of that is those ads that you guys did. Part of it is Danny taking down the Canadian flag, and part of it is all those people in the '70s, Figgy Duff and the Wonderful Grand Band and Mummers and Rising Tide and and all the writers, the Michael Crummies and the Lisa Moores and all the cultural. You can't call it Renaissance because it never, I don't think, but it was all that coming. It began to change because we were so ashamed of everything about Newfoundland when we were young, and we were made fun of relentlessly. You couldn't get on if you said you were from Newfoundland on an elevator in Toronto. Practically everybody fell down laughing. It was just like such a ridiculous. And so it's lovely to live through that kind of change where suddenly, people go, oh my God, you're from Newfoundland. Love to go there. Like you go, oh yeah, good. Well, come in June. That'll be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Or July.
Yeah.
But you have your this establishing generation of artists and comedians and performers and everything.
Yeah.
And then you go down the road of that foundation that gets laid, and then folks like Dave working for the tourism commercials and all of that, like you said, it works together to make us to where we are now.
Yeah.
And there's so much more pride.
And CBC, CBNT, my God, I did 3 regional shows before we ever did a national show.
Wow.
And we used to produce so much work here.
out of here, yeah.
Yeah. So
the ghosts in this
that made a
place.
difference too. I mean, it's really different now. I sometimes don't recognize where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, I was a very small cog on that. There was a lot of people involved in those ads. And
Oh no, Dave,
Yeah,
you
no,
did
big
them.
teams.
You did them all yourself. I know you did, and you're
Yes,
just
all by
being
myself.
false humility is as bad as false pride, Dave.
So when you're working on something like this show, and season 3 is out, but like, is there a season 4? Like, what's happening?
Oh yeah, we got a season 4, even though they only go to 3 seasons. But then the vice president, apparently of 5, whoever that might be, we never know anyone, said to Paul Gardner, who was the guy who commissioned the shows, he said, "Well, I suppose you got him for season 4," and he had told us that there was going to be no season 4. Season 3 would be the end, and then now we're doing season 4. God alone knows. We may be at this. This may take me out.
So how does the writing then work? Because Mary, it's yourself and both of you do the writing for the
Yeah,
show, right? So
yeah.
how does that work for like thinking of like the arc of the like where things are going and throwing in all the bits and bobs that are in there?
Well, we usually get together and we have an idea, and then Dave goes away and writes I've never worked with anyone who wrote as quickly and as effectively as Dave. And Dave goes away and writes, and then he sends them to me, and then I rewrite them, and then I send them back to him, and then he rewrites them, and then we send them to Terry, and he maps out how it goes. So we usually, isn't that right, Dave? We usually get together down at that restaurant and have some ideas, like
Yeah, we
Mrs.
had
should
done
go
a-
in the old age home, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we head down to Bernard Stanley's.
Yeah.
And we usually have a chat. But we didn't do that this year. We met at Starbucks this year.
We met at Starbucks.
There you
Why
go.
did we do that, Dave?
On a different year, different year.
Switching things up.
Different field of
Right.
things,
Keeping it
right?
fresh.
Right, going
Yeah.
venti style on it.
Yeah.
That's true. Writing's going slower.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I my mother had a shop. She had a shop, and so I'm hoping. And she opened it in the front room of a 4x4 house. And nobody was allowed in there because I made the mistake. I was just visiting, and I took 3 3% candy. And so I was never allowed back in the shop again without supervision because I stole a penny's worth of candy. And most of my family were lowlifes like that who would take a whole 3% candy. And so only very, very special. And Mom would just bawl out, "Shut up!" And then Tom, my grandson, my mom's grandson, would go in. And so I just love that. So I'm just trying to recreate. I got my sister Lal working on finding pictures of Mom's shop. So we're trying to, Mrs. is going to open a shop and try to get, I'm going to keep it 24 hours. I'm going to get Dave to John to work there. I think 24 hours it would be better.
Oh, yeah.
We make more money. And then he goes to another. Oh, I forgot to tell Dave that. He goes to another store and I fire him. And he goes, "You can't fire me. I don't, like." And then I go, "Well, I'm docking your pay." And he goes, "Well, I don't get any pay, so."
You just took my apartment.
I love the season 4 preview here. This is amazing.
Yeah. So that's only a little part of what season 4 will be. Also, I have a cult. Mrs. has a cult.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't see why I shouldn't have a cult.
No, why not?
Yeah,
It's about time.
Yeah, really.
You are listening to The Signal. We've got the folks from the Mrs. Downstairs season 3 on the show. We've got Mary Walsh, Renee, Hackett here in studio. Dave Sullivan is on the line. And guys, if you want to get in touch with us, the lines are finally open. 709-722-7111, 1-800-563-8255. Text us 709-327-8206 or email thesignal@cbc.ca. And that's if you got questions about the show or if you just want to say hi to the folks here involved. We've got Ruth Lawrence on the line. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for adding me into this conversation.
Oh, it's
great to listen to it.
rolling along. You produce this, right? How what's that like when you've got the cast of characters who are involved with this type of a thing?
Well, it's interesting because I heard, Mary talking about hauling people into the process, and I thought, yes, that's what happened to me. Because I think I met Mary for a conversation. We were supposed to have a meeting about a fundraiser she had to do, and it turned into her pitching this idea, and I thought, oh, this is a great idea. Dave had been I think you already talked about this, doing these Facebook posts. Mary said, "I want to be the missus," and I think I made a comment one day saying, I'd be interested in helping you make that happen. But of course, just by leading them towards a place where it could happen in terms of Bell 5. But before I left that conversation, it was like, well, you got to be involved too. So that's how I have been involved in this whole thing. And I kept saying, you don't need me, because they don't. They could totally be doing this without me. But it's been really interesting over 3 seasons to see how this show has developed from that, those early ideas and to see where it's gone. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but anyone who hasn't seen it yet, if you have not yet witnessed a rap between John and the missus, you have something to behold.
That is true. And I mean, also Andy Jones in a furry suit with Mary Walsh. I mean,
that's true. There's a lot of highlights in season 3. Yeah, exactly. There's lots to be focused in on for sure.
How often do you, when you work with projects, are you surprised when things because sometimes things can just disappear, right, into the just into nothingness after a season or something, but to start something that you're like, this is special, this is great, and then all of a sudden season 2 and 3, and then you're planning season 4. How often do you get to strike something like that in the business?
Not very often, really. I mean, certainly most things I've done have been one-offs, and this is an anomaly because it as you know, it's just struck a chord with so many people. Yeah. It's been the top-rated series on Bell for every season that we've put out so far. So there's something in this. People want more of it. Every time a season ends, people go, "When's the next one?" And we're like, "We just literally finished a season." Let us catch our breath, make a new one. So we're, they're about to go into writing season 4 now, and I don't know. It just keeps going because people want to see it, Adam. It's tremendous, really.
And you're not in St. John's right now. Where are you?
I'm not. I'm working out in Trinity for another few weeks or so. The scenery is amazing. The cold is incisive. It's in my bones.
I can feel it.
Yeah, there must be icebergs off that coast, even though they're not in the harbors yet.
And what else, just before I let you go, so you're doing that, what else you got on the go to the summer for projects and stuff that you can talk about?
I've got a couple of small projects that I'm shooting. I'm helping co-produce a couple of small things. Nothing too much that I can really talk about, other than Party Pirate, which is the feature film that I directed, and it's going to be released this year. It's about to launch on a little mini tour across the province, and hopefully get released in cinemas in the fall. So that's probably the only thing I can really talk about right at this moment. Yeah.
Well, wish you all the luck with Party Pirate, and hopefully you got a sweater for the cold there to enjoy the view. Ruth, thanks for this.
Many shawls and scarves are worn right at this very moment, actually.
Awesome. Be well. Enjoy the summer.
Yeah, great to hear you guys too. I've been tuning in, Mary and Dave and Renee. Thank you so much for speaking so wonderfully and hilariously about the show.
Great to talk to you, Ruth.
Bye, Ruth.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ruth Lawrence there on the line.
John might be getting married, which of course just kills, Trina.
To Trina? Or Trina?
Not to Trina, no. And so, that we have to get in the way of that in some way. That can't happen.
Is Trina destroyed?
Oh, I don't think she's destroyed, but she's just not going to let see that happen. She might tear the wedding dress off, Mrs.
God.
So,
Mary, stop telling people the plot of season 4.
I know. Sorry,
like a
Dave.
DVD behind the scenes, or you have someone narrating. I've never had it happen before. It's been shot before. This is fantastic.
I know. These
I'm
are just
already having a great
ideas,
time.
and they maybe won't even get. Dave, but Dave's already saying, "Oh yeah, these are all our ideas," and now I've just blown the.
Oh, it's okay.
No, nobody will remember
onanism.
anyway. But nobody remembers
In
that.
today's
Everybody-
They
world,
won't remember
I
that.
don't remember what I
No.
had for breakfast.
No,
right?
no.
Fire hose.
Everybody's out there tick-tocked out of their minds, but I don't know nothing.
But that is a bit though. Like the world these days with like social media and everything else. There's a whole and like all the different streaming platforms, everything else. There's a fire hose of stuff. How hard is it, or can you even predict or know if you're going to break through with something?
Oh God, we've tried to make ourselves more visible on all these platforms, like TikTok and Facebook for old people, and I don't even know their names. Insta,
Yeah, Instagram.
and
Sure.
it's like and we can't. We don't know is there a formula, or is it just
just throwing
Dave?
stuff
What
at
do
a
you
wall.
think of that?
There's a thing that people follow on each of these platforms. I mean, if we wanted to be big on TikTok, we'd have to produce content 4 or 5 times a day, every single day of the week, and we just don't have time. It is a full-time job. It's a couple of jobs.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it. We're big on Facebook simply because that's sort of where our target is, right? That's generally. But we've tried TikTok. We'll continue to put some stuff out there every now and then if it works. Like there's a Mary rehearsing her rap on TikTok, which is pretty good.
That's very good.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, it's because, like I said, it's hard to like you look at something and it's this is getting hot. This is like got an audience, and you're to find an audience sometimes when it's so hard to find one. I mean, it's pretty spectacular to see, like Ruth was talking about, like the pickup and just the high ratings around this thing too. And I know, I mean, it's it is a TV/web series, but it's just something that people kind of glob onto and they really like. So that's a pretty special thing in today's world of like trying to find eyes and ears on stuff, which is growing increasingly difficult.
Yeah. Especially in the standard network situation, right? Yeah.
But you know what? It remains true that there's all these TikToks and Facebooks and Twitters or X's or whatever the hell they're called now. But still the number one way to promote your show or to get people interested is word of mouth. And it's always that way. So like anything you throw on the internet is fine and it'll get eyeballs. Like we've done a couple of fun things that have really worked out. But it's conversation that really sells the show.
And I think people really just want to have a laugh. It's a show that really takes the piss out of itself. Can I say that?
Yeah,
sure.
It's really fun. It's fun to do. You can tell people who are doing it are having fun doing it.
Yeah.
I think it's infectious, and That way, when I watch it and watch what they're doing together, and I think people really just want to sit back and go, "My gosh, it's nice not to be too serious." You know?
There's nothing better than just a cup that's overflowing with foolishness, right?
Yeah,
like it is just such a great thing to drink it.
Yeah.
And my brother said very insightfully, I thought, he went, yeah, it's funny, and it's only 10 minutes, so, it's short, right?
Exactly.
And I think that really, because, that's why there's so few funny movies, because you can't be funny relentlessly for over 90 minutes. Half hour is
true.
tops, that whole sitcom thing. And 10 minutes is, just like a little shot, like
Amuse-bouche of humor.
An amuse-bouche, yeah.
That you can pick through.
Yeah.
So then, compared to back, because we talked about just like from the 70s, 80s, 90s, back what it used to be like, and you look at now, what's it like creating then other projects or this one in today's world, or acting and trying to try out for stuff and going to auditions? Like, what is the ecosystem or what environment like these days?
It's interesting because I think a lot has changed because of self-tapes.
Yeah.
That really helps things be more available to you. But I mean, I lived in Toronto for like over 20 years. And so for me, it's changed because I moved home and I get a chance to do audition for shows like this.
Yeah.
And your hero, you watch Mary Walsh growing up, and then all of a sudden you're playing her daughter. I mean, you're like, this is an absolute dream.
And Renee never stopped working since she came home.
Well,
Right?
Yeah,
you've
I've
been
done a lot of work.
pretty well going strong, right?
Yeah.
And Toronto was difficult. It was a struggle, right?
I love many things about Toronto, and I have a lot of dear friends there, and there's a lot about Toronto that I love, but there's a really supportive arts community here, and it's been really beautiful to be home and to be really lifted up and supported. And I mean, and the whole Bell 5 thing has really helped a lot of people's voices get out there. I've found a lot of my own voice on What Odds, and there's so many opportunities to get things made. And yeah, I think that here there's been just so much support.
I think that for me, what seems to have changed, and I'm not really complaining about it, is like, say, 20 years ago, it was all women making movies. Like there was Barb Dorn and Mary Sexton, and now it's all those guys. It's like and they're all friends, and they all go out to, the Alan Hawkos and the Mark Critches and the other guys, John, I forget their names, but they are doing all the work, and they're bringing people in from Toronto. Hudson and Rex brought in a corpse. A corpse. I mean, it wasn't really a corpse, but a guy to play a corpse. Yeah. And so it's to a certain degree, and I hope I'm not being offensive here, but to a certain degree, the crews are working nonstop, and that is fabulous. And all this stuff is being created here. But like, do these people think that there's no little Johnny Harris out there waiting for a chance to get on national TV to show, like, there's no Sherry Whites, there's no Adriana, there's no Renee? You know what I mean? What about the young crowd? Like, they're not getting a look in at all. It's all Toronto-based or sometimes English, I guess, and LA. But the actors that are here, and we have great actors, which we've proven over the years, and writers, there's not even in their writing rooms, they don't even have an internship. So there's not even a Newfoundlander getting a chance to be mentored in there. So that's got to change, and I don't know how we change it. I think how we change it is we give an extra tax credit, say, for the because you get extra tax credits for crew and stuff, so they should get an extra tax credit for hiring. And it's not like we haven't improved. I mean, I have a show that I created that's on for its 32nd year on CBC. You know what I mean? And so, it's not like we haven't proved ourselves that, Johnny Harris has 2 shows. And, it just goes on and on. Rick Mercer, Kathy Jones, Susan Kent,
I just had this exact conversation with a few people this week and said the exact same thing you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think it is important because the industry is growing. It's getting bigger. It's fabulous. But we have to make sure that we support and encourage the writers and the creatives as well.
And does any of this get covered off with the College of the North Atlantic and the television and film creation programs that they have?
I think that they seem to have a big emphasis on technical. Because they are a technical college after all, right? And so the creative end is not as large, and they don't want to get in the way. And someone said they don't want to get in the way of Grenfell.
Yes,
which
of
is
course.
doing, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that we just have to make a change. Everybody's talking about it. I met a sound man on the street the other day, and he brought it up, for heaven's sakes. So if the sound guys are noticing that there's no Newfoundland actors being in the
Interesting.
in the shows, I think that the way to go, though, is to stop complaining about it, which I've been doing endlessly, and to offer something. Say,
Do
because it's a
something,
business.
yeah.
It is show business, and to say, look, go to the provincial government and say, look, let's try to put a tax credit in so that the more Newfoundland actors that you have in real roles, the bigger tax credit.
To encourage people to stay here rather than have to go off the island, to have opportunities that make your life sustainable, have an income that's...
But then when Johnny and Susan when they went off the island, they already had a profile because they'd already been in a national TV show.
Yeah.
So they could get an agent. The agents were approaching them. So if you're going up with nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If people were on Critch or they were on Hudson and Rex or they were on something, they already have a profile before they go into the wider world of, being...
If you go up into that big pool
Yeah.
and you don't have something already established, it's
Yeah.
easy to get lost.
It
right?
is.
As
It
opposed
is.
to like, actually, I'm Johnny Harris going up with or
Yeah.
Rick Mercer, whoever else.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is
If
a
I could
great
just say one thing, if I could just say one thing, is that I could easily be like a little Johnny Harris. Like a lot of people, I could easily be the next little Johnny Harris.
I know. You
Anybody
could.
listening out there,
You could do
Anybody.
3 shows, Dave.
just save me from this woman.
Dave, we are sending. We're going to send a help team for you to liberate you. So then, with all this conversation that we're having, and then Dave, you said you were out of it for 10 years. Again, this to circle back to like the beginning of our conversation on the show about how special the Mrs. Downstairs is, because you were out of the biz for like 10 years, and you're starring in this thing with Mary Walsh, and it's kind of bananas when you think about it.
Yeah, it's a bit wild. I mean, this is sort of, and I don't mean, it's important for me to have a creative outlet. I cannot think, and this is also it's also kind of a job, but like it's mainly a creative outlet. It's a way for me to like express myself creatively, work with like somebody that I've just
Adored. You might as well just say
Yes.
adored.
I'm just trying to find the right word. Adored. No, that's not it. Respect. No.
No, I can't find the word. There is no word.
There is a word. But I mean, obviously, like I grew up on Codco. I knew every word of it. From Mudabo to I knew everything. And I was just such a huge fan of it. And to get to work with people like Andy, people like Mary, especially to be like, rock under Mary's wing and to learn from her and just sort of, it's been incredible. Like I could never have imagined it. And like people are like, how do you find time to do it? It's like you find time to do it. Like these things don't pop up often, and you like, what a life experience to have, and I feel lucky every time we do it. I feel like I just feel really, really lucky, and I couldn't ask for a better situation. It's fantastic.
And this is going to sound like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm being sincere, but I don't do sincere very well. But we feel really lucky too, to get to work with you every day. And it's just, I feel really lucky to be in this creative relationship with you. And it just... I don't know. I feel really lucky too. And I speak for Renee when I say I know Renee feels really. Renee, why don't you speak for yourself?
I feel extremely lucky as well.
Good.
Renee,
I'm not being facetious.
I know.
I know. It's like,
What's it like to be directed by Mary Walsh, Renee?
Oh my gosh. Well, when Dave said that he was terrified day one, I was terrified too. I mean, you go back to loving someone so much and growing up with someone, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I don't mess this up. I really hope I don't mess this up. And it was so much fun because we were like fake chain smoking for like ever for the first hours of it. And the next day, I never ever told Mary this or Dave, but I smoked so much fake cigarettes that the next day I woke up and I felt like someone had beaten my body. Like I was in some sort of weird state of all that inhale, whatever. But I didn't have to do that. I chose to do that. I chose to do that.
Tell folks what fake cigarettes are, because like there's real cigarettes, and in acting these days it's fake ones. So what are they like?
Herbal cigarettes.
Just herbal cigarettes.
Yeah, they taste kind of odd, but you still shouldn't do what I was doing, which I didn't have to do. But I was so nervous. I thought, you can't. You got to just go for it, Renee. I kept like smoking that cigarette, getting all my nerves out. Like he had, Dave had the Headspace app on. I was just actively smoking these herbal cigarettes.
This is such a great scene.
But it was just fabulous. She's amazing to work with. She's an excellent director. One thing that I find really great about this whole process and being a part of the show is that the gift of a character like this, you get to just be as big and bold and brave as you want. And Mary has completely encouraged me to just bring whatever I want. She said that. Just do you do it. You go as far as you want. I totally trust you. And you don't get that opportunity all the time. And I don't feel micromanaged or watched. It's like this real beautiful environment where as an actor you get to just play, and it's so much fun.
So then how much are you still learning as an actor then?
Watching Mary is a lesson in...
Yeah.
She's a comedic genius.
Yeah.
You're like, how does one do that? So I'm still like, I learned a lot.
The FBI are going to be raiding my house anytime soon.
But it's true. I learned so much from watching her and Dave, and then the writing is just so great as well. It's just, it comes off your tongue. It's so much fun to say and to play with, and I've learned so much on 3 seasons of this show with them. It's been quite special.
What do you enjoy about directing, Mary?
Oh, because, even when I'm not directing, I'm directing in my mind now more. But first, because I was stupid, I would just say, I'm not over the moon about that dress that Sheila's got on. You know what I mean? And people would go, you're in for the day. We're not really interested in your feeling about the actors. Right. So there was a lot of time that I was stupidly, but in my mind anyway, I was going, oh, should he be, you know what I mean? I'm always involved in, because when we started in Codco, we didn't have a director or anyone. It was just us. And so we were in charge of everything, you know what I mean? And people were, I remember Andy and I were in Moon for the Misbegotten up at the London Aunt, the Grand Theatre in London. We were being directed by Martha Henry. Now, we hadn't done, I guess, we'd done the Codco TV show where we were directed by the brilliant John Blanchard, but we would always direct each other too. So we're standing up in the rehearsal room, and I think Andy says, well, I'll do this, and then you do that. And I go, okay, but then when I do that, you do that, And Martha Henry said, excuse me, we don't do that. And, actors don't.
How this works.
That's not how this works. And was quite a shock to us, actually, because you know what I mean. But anyway, for a long time, I've wanted to, and I've directed in the theater a lot, and I did that one movie, Triffy, which, then I just couldn't go back at it again because I just lost my nerve. But I just saw it the other night. It was really good and funny. But at the time, we got no stars at the Globe and Mail. And every lousy movie that comes out of,
Sure, they don't. It's the Globe and Mail.
I know it's the Globe and Mail, but, but anyway, that was bad. But no, I've always wanted to direct, because I'm always directing anyway. I'm just getting a bit exhausted by it, really. I think, why don't you just shut up for 2 minutes? Even I'm tired of listening to you.
So how much realization comes from just like growing up, from being young, and the whole world is there's a lot on the go, and maybe you don't know everything, right? But then the older you get, you learn a little bit more. At least you know what you don't know. So to be in your position now, to be directing folks, to be part of these projects, compared to decades ago, what's it like to be? Because there's leadership involved here too, right?
Oh, I don't find they let me lead enough. But other than that, I could not be happier. I mean, I've never been as happy in my whole life. And they do say there's lots of research that shows an older age is a happier age. There's a U-bend towards happiness, and so you start to pick up around 50, up to where you were. It's like the 30s and the 40s and maybe the late 20s. You go into a bit of a thing, and so I have to say that. I find myself happier than I've ever been. And, I like that. And I spent a lot of time pretending that I knew things. Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah. Oh yeah, that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was just living in total ignorance, always in desperate fear that I was going to be, like it was going to be revealed how little I knew, and so being old and knowing what you don't know, and not being ashamed of not knowing things. That's
it's okay.
It's everything.
Totally.
It's all right to just go, I have no idea. Do what you like because, I'm with you. And, as opposed to thinking you have to go in and be the director and know the answer to all the questions and tell Renee what she should be doing. Sometimes I do direct Renee a little, but, she's bringing that's the thing you learn about directing. You can't get something from someone who doesn't have it already.
Yeah.
You have to go with what the person has and then, help them to make that a little better if you can, but you can't be imposing your notion of what is needed on another person because you can't control them, which is really the great sadness, I guess, of life.
Wow.
I'm terrified to shoot season 4 now.
Dave, thoughts on what Mary's saying there?
No, I think she did cover quite well with the sadness of life. Totally agree.
We're on the upswing. I like this that you're happier as you get older because I feel it too. In my age, I feel like, and what you just said about the strength and of admitting what you don't know. Oh gosh, when I was younger, I always wanted to. I was walking around terrified all the time too that someone would find out I didn't know everything.
Right, I know.
Oh,
It's
the
just
number of times when I was young, I'd be
exhausting.
like, "Oh yeah, no, I know, yeah," and
Yeah.
I'd be like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
And now sometimes I will be like, "No, don't know about that."
Yeah.
Actually,
And I always admired people who could say, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
because there's a strength in
Yeah,
it.
there's so much
Totally.
strength in that. Yeah. But I never.
Weird guys, I can't relate to this conversation at all. I don't even.
But it is funny that they say they put the fear of God in you about getting older. Like they go, oh yeah, old age better than death, but not by much. And it's all dark news. And in the last 20 years, they've done all this scientific research, proving that actually, as you get older, you do get happier. Now, I guess that doesn't happen to everyone, but because but they say even depending on your health and your wealth, even taking those things into consideration, you are on an upward trajectory in terms of happiness. Now, I know a lot of people who aren't that happy.
Yeah,
I
of
know
course.
as they're older.
This is not everyone, but is it because it's also the older I get, I care less about some of the things that I used to care about for what other people may say or think, and there's a liberation in that too. So you know what? That doesn't matter what that person said, and it can be hard, but it just slowly
I didn't realize
graduating
that
into
till the
that.
other day. No, seriously, I had a real interesting chat with myself where I went, well, that doesn't really matter, does it? Because I know what I know, and it doesn't. And I'm 72, so it's not fast. It's not going to happen. The changes maybe won't happen fast, but I totally agree with Renee that things are just easier and with you too, that things are just easier as you get older in some ways. And then, of course, dementia and desperate illness, and my father died in an old age home, paralyzed from a stroke, and was very, very unhappy, and was 3 years because he had such a strong heart. 3 years lived and didn't, but the only part of his brain that worked was the cursing part because he had been a sailor.
You're really ending the show on a happy note, Mary.
But I'm just saying, obviously, when I say that, I take into consideration that there are things that, there are circumstances.
Life is hard and complicated for everyone.
Yeah.
But even those circumstances, if I might add on to this, I find like season 3, for example.
Yeah.
Not to get into anything like that, but like it was written under a little bit of duress, right?
Yes.
Like in terms of like personal stuff going on and like illness, family illness, and stuff like that. But I do find that when you're in that mode and you're sort of in that zone, your brain does a thing where it's like, I really need to write something that's funny that can make me laugh right now.
Right.
Totally.
And it actually kind of, in a weird, sadistic, onanistic way,
We're back to
We're
that.
back to the
love it.
beginning.
Nice
Good.
callback
Yeah.
there,
That was really good.
Dave.
helps a lot. Like it makes you push harder for the funny, not just because it's needed for the show, but you need it. You know what I mean? Like, like what will make me laugh under any circumstance? It's probably Mary Walsh rapping with a giant chain around her neck.
That is 100% true. And Dave Sullivan, as the show is ending now, where can folks find it? Because we've been talking about the Mrs. Downstairs for season 3 for the whole show. Yeah. Where can they find it?
I like to leave it a secret. Like people often ask online, we're like, "How do we see it? How do we see it?" And like, I'm just done telling people.
Google it.
Yeah, just
actually, if you're going to Google anything from the show today, it's where to find the Mrs. Downstairs season 3. Yeah. Don't Google the other things. Some Google of the words, especially. No.
First. Okay, so it's on. If you're a Bell customer, if you have Bell Wireless. You have an app called Vibe TV.
You've got 10 seconds.
And it can be accessed on that if you search for the Mrs. Downstairs on Vibe TV.
Dave Sullivan, Renee Hackett, and Mary Walsh. Thank you so much for today. Folks, the show's going to be up on YouTube later this afternoon. Thank you for listening. Looking ahead to tomorrow, it's a Quality of Life annual check-in. We're talking about the Harris Center's Vital Signs. This year, it's about the cost of living, which obviously affects all of us, so don't miss it. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.